Hello everyone. Let's head on to our first case. Case 1. Am I the bad person for wanting to hold my sister accountable for publishing information about my private trauma where my baby boy died without asking me? 9 years ago, I lost a baby boy in childbirth at 41 weeks who was stillborn. This was after a complicated and pretty traumatic pregnancy due to genetic complications from me and my husband, leading to concern about the baby's viability and needing amniocentesis to confirm the baby was okay. We both carry a recessive gene that is fatal and has no treatment, and there was a 25% chance that the baby had the disease, and we would have to decide to abort or have the baby and watch it die over the first few years of its life. We ended up finding out he was genetically healthy around 20 weeks, the rest of the pregnancy was relatively normal, and then the pregnancy unexpectedly ended in a full-term stillbirth. This really fucked me up, like to the point that it still makes me very sad after 9 years. My subsequent IVF pregnancies leading to 2 living children have been very high stress, filled with anxiety, and emotional. Motherhood/family is very important to me, I think in part due to losing my first child and just wanting to be very present and involved with my girls. Fast forward like 4-ish years, and my sister, who I was always pretty close to, published an article in an internationally read magazine, the online version, honestly not sure if it was in the print version, and in the article she wrote about her own experience with postpartum and as a mother to her son. But she included very private details and information about my son who died and my stillbirth medical information and other things I would never have agreed to share. She did not ask my permission and did not give me any warning ahead of time. I basically woke up one morning and a bunch of friends had reached out asking if I had given her permission to write about me and my son. They were surprised that I would give permission, knowing this has been a very painful experience for me and knowing that I am a private person. I had no idea what they were talking about, read the article, was very triggered reading it, and long story short, had an emotional breakdown. It was the idea that all these strangers were reading about my private life and had access to information that I would never have shared with them. It made me feel, first of all, like I was back in the moments after my son died, and secondly, like I was being continually re-traumatized by all these people reading about it without my consent. Acquaintances/work colleagues/etc. who I never told about this experience started asking me about it and trying to talk to me about it, people who I would not have shared with about my private life in that level of detail. I told my sister I was very upset by this and I thought it was objectively wrong of her. We had a huge fight and essentially have not spoken since this happened. Our last communication was that she would ask my permission if she were ever to write about our overlapping experience again. This also really pissed me off because it made me feel like she was centering herself in my life and trauma and kind of trying to take ownership of something that literally did not happen to her. My perspective is that she did something pretty awful and that she has not apologized or taken any mitigating steps to repair. She did technically apologize. She sent a note with flowers that literally said one line, "We are sorry for your pain." I don't consider this any type of apology, as she is not taking responsibility for her actions. I don't know who he is, and it is not enough of an apology to make up for what she did. Fast forward to this year, and she has now published a book also based on her postpartum and motherhood experience. I knew that she was publishing a book, but I assumed per our last communication that she would not include information about my son's death or anything about my family in the book. Well, I was wrong. A friend sent me a screenshot of one of the reviews in which my stillbirth was mentioned. The review says, "I also recoiled in the way she described her sister's stillbirth, and just hoped that her sister was part of the process and agreed to having something so tragic and personal exposed in such a calloused and frankly self-absorbed way." Well, I was not. And I am very angry again at the inclusion of my life in my son's death. She has also been on podcasts where she lies one. She claims she is very close to her siblings. I have not spoken to her in years and plan to never again too. She was asked if there has been blowback about what she included, where she claims that all the main characters read many drafts of the book and were happy for her to tell her story. Well, maybe I am not a main character, but I did not read a draft and did not give permission or consent for what was included. Directly following this question from the podcast host, the host then says, "I felt so bad for your sister with her stillbirth," and then my sister just makes up a statistic that late-term stillbirth happens to 1 out of 100 women. Like, just for the record, what happened with my son is a chance of 3 in 10,000 live births. I feel strongly that if you are going to act like an expert on a subject, you should not make up data like that. And I feel like hearing something like that is wildly invalidating for women who have lost their children via stillbirth or any other traumatic incident. She also lies about stuff in the book, not lies that have any real impact on the world, but things that are not accurate. For example, she says that her husband came to the funeral of my son. This did not happen. I don't understand why someone would make up things like that. She also says she held my son in the hospital, and while I was very out of it emotionally, I am certain to the point where I would die on the hill that she never held my son. I know those things only matter to me and don't matter to the general point of her book's narrative. But when the only way you get to be a mom to your son is through those very few memories you have, it feels like a really big deal for someone to do this. Okay, so what do I do? My personal sense of morality is literally screaming for consequences. The first time this happened with the magazine article, I spoke to a lawyer and considered legal action. I did not take that route because it is quite expensive and there is not a possibility of putting the worms back in the can, so to speak. This information is out there and I cannot do anything about it. I originally determined not to take legal action because I took my sister at her word that she would not do this again. Am I an asshole that I want there to be a consequence? Would I be the asshole if I tried to take legal action? Is there a perspective where I am the asshole for being angry about this? Do people think what she did is not such a big deal? My family is kind of split on this, and my parents are very complicit in her behavior and actions and have been very supportive of her and the book. I also feel bad that this has destroyed our once very close family, and my parents are getting older. Okay, there are so many details, but that is the basic outline of events from my perspective. What do you guys think? Lay down your ruling in the comments section and let's move on to our next story. Case 2. Am I the bad person for ghosting my ex because she is married now? My friends think I'm an AH for blocking my ex, who is married, because she keeps calling and messaging me. I wanted to ask if what I'm doing is right or if I should keep in touch with her. I dated Lisa for 4 years, and we broke up 2 years ago. Lisa told me she didn't see a future with me and wanted to call things off. There were many reasons, and I knew it was coming. Lisa came from a wealthy family, and we met in college. Our relationship was great during the college years. However, after we graduated and got jobs, it became clear to her that I would never be able to provide the lifestyle she was used to. She hated the small apartment we rented because I wanted to pay off my student loan quickly, and she resented that I couldn't afford to take her on nice vacations. It sucked, but I couldn't blame her. I loved Lisa deeply, but I also knew she deserved the life she wanted. After we broke up, we still had lingering feelings and stayed friends for a few months. We had mutual friends and would meet regularly. I never hated Lisa. In fact, I cherished the memories of the 4 years we were together. But I was also acutely aware that we came from different worlds and that she shouldn't have to settle because of me. Still, it was hard to let go completely, and sometimes I wondered if I'd ever truly get over her. We drifted apart after Lisa started dating a family friend. I met him a few times at parties. He knew Lisa and I had dated, and though he was polite, I started avoiding her and focused on work. Eventually, I moved to another city and lost touch with Lisa. I heard from mutual friends that she got married 6 months ago. I wasn't invited to the wedding, but I was happy for her. I also dated someone briefly last year, but right now, my career is my main focus. That's what I need to believe. 3 weeks ago, out of the blue, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Lisa. She started with small talk, and we caught up on each other's lives. She told me about the new house she and her husband had just bought and how busy she'd been. I told her about my work and my new life. It was nice, like catching up with an old friend. She gave me her new number, and the call lasted about 20 minutes. Although I found it odd, I figured she might have thought about me and decided to reach out. The next day, she messaged me and sent a few photos of her new house. I complimented her on them. 2 days later, she called me again, saying she was driving and thought about chatting. We talked about my new city, my new friends, and even gossiped about our old mutual friends. Then, she started sending me photos from a recent party where they all met up. Over the next 2 weeks, Lisa began calling me almost every day. I ignored most of her calls, but she always said she had free time and wanted to talk. She started sending me TikToks, memes, and messages, initiating conversations all the time. At first, I brushed it off, thinking she was just being friendly, but it felt wrong. Lisa is married, and I shouldn't be talking to her so frequently. The more she reached out, the more unsettled I became. Was she unhappy in her marriage? Was she just lonely? Or was I reading too much into it? Last Friday, I finally messaged her, saying that it felt inappropriate for us to talk so often, given that she's married now. She replied almost immediately, saying there's nothing wrong with us being good friends, like before. I didn't want to continue, so I told her we needed to stop talking for a while because I needed to focus on work. After that, I blocked her number. She called our mutual friend Jess, crying about how I was rude and blocked her. Jess told our other friends, and some of them called me, saying I was being unreasonable to treat Lisa that way and cut her off. I don't understand how no one sees that it's wrong for Lisa to call her ex when she's happily married after more than a year of no contact. It doesn't make sense. But maybe I'm the one who's missing something. Am I being unreasonable with Lisa, or was it right for me to block her for both our sakes? And if I'm right, why do I still feel so conflicted? You've sat down, you've listened. Now, it's time to state your ruling. What is it gonna be? Let us have it down in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more cases like these. In life, we may run, but we can never hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.